in the headlines of this hour on VTV News. Dien Bien Phu victory inspires peace-loving people worldwide. An IT training urged to focus on semiconductors. In our world news, Israeli military orders evacuation of parts of Rafah.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good morning. It is 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi, and you're watching VTV News. I'm Huyen Chen with the top stories. A delegation gathering representatives of the Party Central Committee, State, National Assembly, Government, and the Vietnam Fatherland Front Central Committee laid flowers at President Ho Chi Minh's mausoleum to pay tribute to the late leader and offer incense to martyrs at the monument dedicated to martyrs and heroes in Hanoi on May 6th, on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the Dien Bien Phu victory, May 7, 1954 to 2024. Prominent in the delegation were Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính, Politburo member, permanent member of the Party Central Committee's Secretariat, and head of the committee's Organization Commission Trương Thị Mai, former Party General Secretary Nông Đức Mạnh, former President Nguyễn Xuân Phúc, and our former National Assembly Chairwoman Nguyễn Thị Kim Ngân. Participants showed their respect and deep gratitude to President Ho Chi Minh, who devoted his whole life to the people and nation and led the party and people to glorious victories. At the monument, they paid tribute to martyrs who fought and laid down their lives for the fatherland's independence and freedom and for the happiness of the people. The Central Committees of the Lao People's Revolutionary Party, or LPRP, and the Cambodian People's Party, or CPP, have sent messages of congratulations to the Communist Party of Vietnam, or CPV, Central Committee on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the Dien Bien Phu victory, May 7th. On the occasion, the Lao and Cambodian officials showed their appreciation for the great contributions of President Ho Chi Minh and General Võ Nguyên Giáp, and stressed that the Dien Bien Phu victory serves as a foundation for Vietnam to achieve great accomplishments, helping expand the country's diplomatic sector and improve its position, role, and influence in the regional and international arena. The leaders of LPRP and CPP expressed their hope that the party and state and people of Vietnam, under the leadership of Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng, will continue to achieve greater success. On May 6th, marking the 70th anniversary of the Dien Bien Phu victory in Dien Bien Phu City, Dien Bien Province, party and state leaders pay homage to the heroes and martyrs of Dien Bien Phu by offering incense. More to follow.
At the A1 National Martyrs Cemetery, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính and the accompanying delegation paid their solemn respects to the brave heroes and martyrs of Dien Bien Phu, who selflessly fought for the nation's independence and people's well-being. The triumph of Dien Bien Phu stands as an enduring epic, the radiant milestone in our nation's history. In the afternoon of May 6th, a delegation of party and state leaders gathered at the A1 National Martyrs Cemetery in Dien Bien Phu City to light wreaths and offer incense in honor of the heroic martyrs. Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng sent wreaths to express his respect to the fallen heroes. In a moment of reverence, the delegation honored the martyrs who gallantly fought and sacrificed for the nation's independence, socialism, and the people's happiness.
Later that afternoon, General Phan Van Giang, a Politburo member and Minister of National Defense, participated in the installation ceremony of a street sign honoring hero Tạ Quốc Luật in Dien Bien Phu City. He also visited troops, distributed gifts, and uplifted the morale of officers and soldiers from all military units, encouraging them to parade at Regiment 82. At the Dien Bien Phu Battlefield Marshal's Temple in Dien Bien Province, General Tô Lâm, a Politburo member and Minister of Public Security, reverently paid tribute by offering incense and flowers.
Prime Minister Phie on May 6 received French Minister of the Armed Forces Sébastien Lecornu, who is in Vietnam to attend commemorations of the 70th anniversary of the Dien Bien Phu victory. Appreciating the French minister's acceptance of the invitation to attend a ceremony marking the anniversary, the Prime Minister considered the visit as important to promote the two countries' strategic partnership. It affirms both sides' efforts to together shelve the past, overcome differences, promote similarities, and look towards the future, and also demonstrates Vietnam's capacity in healing the wounds of war, recovering from war, turning former foes into friends, and shifting from confrontation to dialogue, he noted. He asked Lecornu to convey Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng invitation to French President Emmanuel Macron to visit Vietnam, and also expressed his wish to welcome his French counterpart Gabriel Attal on a trip to Vietnam in the near future. At the meeting, both hosts and guests expressed their delight at the country's flourishing relations since the strategic partnership was established 10 years ago. On the same day, May 6, during the meeting with French Minister of the Armed Forces Sébastien Lecornu, Lê Hoài Trung, Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam or CPV Central Committee and Chairman of the CPV Central Committee's Commission for External Relations, emphasized the significant progress in cooperation between Vietnam and France. Particularly noteworthy were the outcomes of the phone conversation between General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng and French President Emmanuel Macron in October 2023. Vietnam deeply values France's role and contributions on both the European and global stages, endorsing French initiatives in the Indo-Pacific region and its involvement in ASEAN-led mechanisms. The French ministers of the army conveyed his respects to General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng, affirming France's enduring commitment to strengthening ties with Vietnam. He also highlighted the importance of party-to-party cooperation in advancing mutual interests between the two countries. The special live television program celebrating the 70th anniversary of the historic Dien Bien Phu victory aired at 8 p.m. on Sunday on VTV1 channel. The program was organized by the Commission for Information and Education in coordination with Vietnam Television, delivering live footage from 5 different locations in Vietnam, including Hà Nội, Điện Biên, Ho Chi Minh City, Thanh Hóa, and Kon Tum. Many leaders and former leaders of the party and the state attended the program, along with veterans and former civilians who were at the front lines of the Dien Bien Phu campaign, as well as the people of Vietnam. The program took the audience back to the heroic and glorious days of the Vietnamese army and people 70 years ago, through emotional testimonies from key witnesses, heroic songs, and vivid documentary images. This was the result of the collaborative efforts of nearly 500 producers and editors, as well as about 1,000 actors and artists. On this occasion, party and state leaders were also awarded medals to veterans, former youth volunteers, and frontline civilians who participated in the Dien Bien Phu campaign. 70 years ago, the Vietnamese people and army gained a glorious victory on the Dien Bien Phu battlefield, ending 9 years of the country's resistant war against French colonists. The victory is seen as a golden epic and a significant milestone in Vietnam's history in the 20th century. For the first time, a former French colony in Asia defeated the powerful armed forces of a European country, inspiring the people of many African countries rising up to overthrow colonialism and gain independence for themselves.
On the afternoon of May 7, 1954, French Brigadier General de Castries made the last phone call to the commander of the French Far East Expeditionary Corps in Tonkin.
The situation in the battlefield is worsening. We'll continue to fight and never give up.
The choice is in your hands, but do not raise the white flag.
On May 7, 1954, the flag of the Vietnam People's Army flew on the roof of General de Castries' bunker at 5:30 p.m., marking the end of the years-long war in Vietnam.
French soldiers raised the white flag and said they were defeated. A French officer admitted defeat. The Viet Minh captured the Castries, confirming our victory.
The French troops' defeat on the Dien Bien Phu battlefield grabbed headlines in Paris on May 8th. At that time, the Dien Bien Phu victory rang the bell signaling the collapse of colonialism around the world.
Dien Bien Phu had a major consequences outside Vietnam. The Dien Bien Phu victory had a very significant impact on other national liberation struggles, especially Algeria. The victory inspired many Algerian revolutionaries.
In the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, the Viet Minh surrounded and besieged French enemies with large amounts of heavy artillery, including anti-aircraft guns.
The Viet Minh utilized its military tactics flexibly and creatively in combat, deploying troops in multiple spots on the battlefield. The Viet Minh's military art is a major topic for historical researchers. Additionally, thanks to the huge support of peace-loving people around the world, the Vietnamese people and soldiers were motivated to fight.
The Dien Bien Phu victory inspired oppressed people around the world to fight for independence and freedom.
70 years have passed, and our former French soldiers who fought on the Dien Bien Phu battlefield are now more than 90 years old. But the memories of the fierce battles and the tough old days still linger in their minds. Join us in the following story to learn more about the Battle of Dien Bien Phu through the lens of a French veteran.
In historical documents about the French war in Indochina, Colonel Jacques Allaire is mentioned the most as he devoted his entire life to the French army, fighting in many places in Vietnam. Allaire parachuted into the Dien Bien Phu battlefield twice in 1953 and March 1954. After French soldiers were defeated in Vietnam, Jacques Allaire was released in September 1954.
Ming started their military operation. Our commander feared that we would be defeated, so he deployed more troops to the battlefield. I parachuted into the Dien Bien Phu battlefield on March 16 after the Viet Minh conducted its operation. We did our best for the army. I still remember on that day, at 5:30 a.m., I surrendered. How sad it was.
Jacques Allaire visited Vietnam 7 times. He last visited the country in 2018 as he accompanied former French Prime Minister Édouard Philippe during a trip to Dien Bien Phu.
A few days before we were freed at Viet Tri in a prisoner exchange, I got a terrible stomach ache. It was so painful that I thought I was about to die. There were doctors but no medicine. I met a Viet Minh soldier when I was wearing only a pair of shorts. He looked at my atrophied leg with pity, then covered my legs with a blanket. In fact, I didn't feel pain in my leg, but I have never forgotten his kindness.
Jacques Allaire passed away when he was 98 in 2022. His desire to return to Vietnam was never fulfilled. However, Jacques Allaire preserved his memorabilia of Dien Bien Phu and Vietnam until the end of his life.
Coming up next on VTV News. Petro-Vietnam reports successful drilling of 2 new oil and gas wells. And farm production plummets while prices soar. Welcome back to VTV News. The National Oil and Gas Group, or Petro-Vietnam, has recently unveiled new oil and gas discoveries at the Bunga Ester and Dragon 79 wells. These successful drillings have revealed estimated reserves exceeding 25 million barrels. Following the drilling at the Dragon 79 well, oil reserves are expected to rise by approximately 4.6 million barrels, slated for exploitation by 2026. Meanwhile, calculations for the Bunga Ester well indicate estimated reserves surpassing 20 million barrels upon completion of exploitation. Officially operational since May 5th, the Bunga Ester well boasts an initial production output of 2,100 barrels per day. These recent findings mark significant progress in fulfilling the objectives to enhance reserves and production output in Vietnam's oil and gas sector for the current and upcoming periods. Vietnam is asserting its presence in the global semiconductor industry by leveraging strategic partnerships and geographic advantages. The human resource development of the Semiconductor project aims to train 50,000 engineers for the semiconductor industry at all stages of the value chain. This development of human capital will also attract semiconductor businesses and large cooperation. The challenge faced now is how to quickly increase the quantity and quality of the human resources employed in the semiconductor field to achieve this target.
These are senior students in the fields of electronics, telecommunications, and information technology participating in a training course on chip design. In the next 6 to 12 months, these students will be ready to start work.
We design training courses aimed at getting young talent capable of semiconductor chip product design. Our courses train both high-ranking specialists to low-level workers in the field.
Training comes hand in hand with recruitment, thus ensuring the quantity and quality of human resources to get workers ready to work for global tech giants.
In fact, the shortage of semiconductor human resources, especially engineers, is common in many developed countries. We can see a great opportunity in Vietnam to fill this gap with the existing advantages of a high-tech supply chain and high-quality human resources.
Since 2019, Samsung has trained 6,000 experts and engineers. We hope that the cooperation model between the Vietnamese government, businesses and training institutions will become a leading program to foster technology talent.
The main form of training will be short-term and advanced training and conversion of related training to the semiconductor industry. Regular training programs will be implemented through close cooperation among 3 entities: the state, educational institutions, and enterprises, as well as international cooperation in curriculum development and attracting international experts to teach in Vietnam.
3 core policies. The first is supporting infrastructure and headquarters for connectivity, and the second is promoting high-quality human resources, and the third one is to simplify administrative procedures and market access opportunities.
The global semiconductor chip market grows on average about 14% per year, and is expected to reach $1 trillion in revenue by 2030. Quickly building high-quality human resources in semiconductors will be an opportunity for Vietnam to gain access to this market.
This year's dry season in the southern provinces has brought with it a prolonged heat wave, drought, and a saline intrusion. These natural disasters greatly affect local agricultural production, leading to a significant decrease in production. This in turn has led to an increase in our farm produce prices.
On average, the Hog Mon wholesale market in Ho Chi Minh City receives over 2,000 tons of vegetables and fruits a day. During this heat wave, the production of several agricultural products, especially leaf vegetables, decreased, leading to increased prices.
Fruit and vegetable products, specifically leaf vegetables, saw a decrease in production due to the heat wave. For example, the production of pennywort products dropped from 20 tons a day to just 5 tons. As a result, prices escalated.
Despite the heat and saltwater intrusion, farmers also increased production, but the output still decreased by 5% to 10%. As demand for agricultural products has increased, so production costs have also risen along with prices.
As demand increases, farmers and units of the cooperative have increased production.
Farmers and companies must operate cold storages, leading to an increase in operating costs by 20% to 30% compared to normal conditions. These contributed to the increase in prices.
The lack of water for agriculture and the impact of drought and saline intrusion have affected crops. It is forecast that, in the near future, prices of many agricultural products will continue to increase and output will decrease.
Now, as previously reported, intense heat and saltwater intrusion in many localities are hindering the growth of various types of fruits. Consequently, many fruit and vegetable export enterprises are avoiding accepting new orders. Specifically, the supply of durians from Dien, as well as fresh coconuts and grapefruits from Phie is decreasing, leaving almost no stock for exports. Businesses are forced to settle for a small fruit weighing less than a kilogram. Meanwhile, the current price of export-grade fresh coconuts purchased at gardens has tripled to nearly $8 per dozen. Similarly, due to severe drought and scarcity, the price of dragon fruits is also experiencing a significant increase. A prolonged extreme heat wave has hit the Central Highlands and dried out many rivers, streams, lakes, dams, and irrigation works. It has greatly affected agricultural production and caused a reduction in a domestic water supply for locals. Localities in the Central Highlands are counting on initial damage to come up with measures to support people in drought-hit areas.
The Rai households in a village of Korntum City said that in the past 10 years, this is the first time the local stream has dried up. This prolonged heat wave is responsible for this disaster. There is no water for agricultural use.
It's been nearly 2 weeks. All of our paddy fields have died and turned to animal feed.
For a long time, people only watered their crops by spring water. This heat wave dried up all streams, leaving them with no other options.
Local statistics show that, in Korntum City, the area of perennial crops affected by drought and lack of water is about 425 hectares, including coffee and fruits. In addition, the area of crops grown outside irrigation works took the worst of the drought. The total damage was nearly 10 hectares. In addition, nearly 100 wells have also dried up. Many urgent solutions have been implemented by local authorities to support people.
The authorities will provide support to people in the area hit by extreme weather. In the long run, we encourage people to change their crops to better adapt to the situation. We urged irrigation project exploitation companies to dredge the dikes to increase capacity.
Local authorities have focused on the implementation of a clean water supply project for people in the area. They also support people in drought-hit areas to change their crops, apply high-tech solutions, and use water economically to cope with current climate change impacts.
Coming up next in our world news. Israeli military orders evacuation of parts of Rafah. And UAE raises oil capacity number. Now moving on to our world news. Israel's military has ordered tens of thousands of people in the southern Gaza city of Rafah to begin evacuating, signaling that a possible ground operation could be imminent. Israel has described Rafah as the last significant Hamas stronghold after 7 months of war.
In a statement on Monday, Israel's military said posters, text messages, phone calls, and media announcements would be used to encourage the gradual movement of civilians in the specified areas. About 1.4 million Palestinians are jammed into Rafah and its surroundings. Most of them fled their homes elsewhere in the territory.
Today, they're telling us to get out of Rafah. Where will the people go? Where will all these crowds go? 1.5 million or 2 million civilians, where will they go? Should they go to the sea? Where will people go after they told us that this is a safe area? They want to commit a genocide, this is what we understood.
Rafah is considered to be the heart of humanitarian operations in Gaza, the transshipment point for aid arriving in the Gaza Strip via the Rafah and Kerem Shalom crossings. The World Health Organization and partners are making contingency plans to ensure the health system can continue providing some care.
This contingency plan is Band-Aid. It will absolutely not prevent the expected substantial additional mortality and morbidity caused by a military operation. Also, of course, a military operation will lead to a new wave of displacement, more overcrowding, less access to essential food, water, sanitation, etc., and definitely more outbreaks, what we already have.
The Israel-Hamas conflict has driven around 80% of Gaza's population of 2.3 million from their homes and caused vast destruction in several towns and cities.
The United Arab Emirates' main oil company said it had bolstered its production capacity a month before the country meets with fellow OPEC Plus nations to decide output levels for the second half of 2024. Abu Dhabi National Oil Company is able to pump 4.85 million barrels a day, according to its website, up from 4.65 million a day at the end of last year. Oil will need to be closely watched in the coming months to ensure a sound and sustainable market balance during an unexpected surge in demand, OPEC said in its monthly oil market report. Now, in recent days, a host of key figures in the market said that oil consumption appears to be turning hotter than expected. Crude oil price is expected to reach nearly $100 per barrel this summer. South Korea's working age population will likely plunge nearly 10 million in the next 20 years amid record low birth rates. The Korean Peninsula Population Institute for the Future disclosed its bleak projection in a report on Monday, saying that the number of people aged 15 to 64 is projected to decrease to 27.17 million in 2044. The country's declining working age population is expected to increase the burden of supporting the elderly, which could lead to a slower economic growth. South Korea's fertility rate dropped to a record low in 2023. The number of babies expected per woman in a lifetime fell to 0.72 last year from 0.78 in 2022. Now let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app at VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.